Hi, today's movie is the 1920 silent horror film of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde starring John Barrymore. Now, I've read so many references to this movie in horror movie books over the years, but I've never seen it and I'm not really sure what to expect. I'm hoping there'll be maybe some interesting early special effects, some interesting special effects makeup, but I don't really know. Let's have a look. And I guess John Barrymore would have been one of the biggest stars of that era. Interesting that he chose to do a horror picture. Nita Naldi's name is familiar to me, but I don't know why. What we want most to be, we are. Okay. So they're taking a sort of philosophical approach to the material, it looks like. Psychological approach. Dr. Jekyll as an idealist and philanthropist. I don't remember him being like that in the book, but it is a long time since I read it. Ooh, what are those? So they're introducing each of the characters with a description and a title card. I haven't noticed that in other silent movies, but I haven't seen that many. Oh, no. So they're setting up Jekyll as the progressive explorer of science and Lanyon as the conservative. Okay. How is Jekyll tampering with the supernatural? He's just looking at things in a microscope. Great set or exterior location. The positive sciences. What are they? Now that set looks a bit familiar. The human repair shop. Okay, I've never heard a medical clinic described that way. So they're really setting up Jekyll as some kind of good-natured helper of the poor here. Now she's swooning because he's handsome or because she's unwell. Interesting that they put the actor's name on these title cards. It does kind of break the fourth wall a little bit. Poor Millicent. I get the impression Dr. Jekyll is a bad boyfriend. This print is not too bad for a film that's 102 years old. They're really hammering this duality theme. Good and evil, selfish versus selfless. Maybe they're also expressing this duality in the way the men and women are separated, the way the men are being so sleazy behind the women's back. He looks very troubled. Sort of generic Victorian, oldie-worldy fashion and hairstyles. So his fiance's dad is urging him to go out and sow his wild oats. Nice. Shut your face. You're riding the stage. Even the title cards have a bad Cockney accent. Ooh, scanty costume. This film presents Victorian society as like a mullet. Business at the front, party behind the scenes. It's reminding me a little bit of Taste the Blood of Dracula, where the group of gentlemen, go out looking for dissolute experiences. Her dancing is not that imaginative. They could have made a bit more of an effort with her choreography. I can see she's inflaming his senses with that lascivious dancing. Considering this was a pre-code film, I'm surprised they made this so not lewd. She's supposed to be some kind of lascivious dancer, but she's not. I suppose, to be fair, she was showing quite a bit of cleavage for 1920. This was probably before the 20s became the 20s. So she's basically wearing what would have been scanty underwear for that period, even though it looks today like big underwear. So I'm not 100% clear what happened there. He was intrigued by her but decided not to go any further with it. Oh. A sense of his baser nature had wakened. That's not good. So Jekyll is talking about separating man's good and evil natures into two separate bodies, one of whom would do all the sinning. How would you separate them into two bodies? Here we go, transformation. This is what we've come for. Ooh, superimposition. Superimposition or double exposure? I'm not sure how they did this back then. Here we go. Oh, that was quick. Now, this is the one where people say Barrymore didn't wear makeup, but clearly there's makeup going on. I don't know. I don't know what the idea is with those long monkey fingers. He does look different to what he looked like before, and he does look creepy. I can see they've made an effort with those fingers, but they do just look a bit weird. This is a kind of stagey treatment of a transformation. And it probably would work brilliantly well on stage. I think he may have lost one of his fingers before. I saw something fly off. I think the problem here is in the way they've set up the transformation, because he said something about wanting to split them into two separate bodies, and obviously he can't do that. He's not doing it. I do remember reading somewhere that people back then were quite keen on Barrymore's profile, and I noticed they shoot him in profile a lot. Instagram eyebrows. There's the profile again. It's funny, it does seem today an odd thing for audiences to get excited about an actor's profile, but times change. This whole thing does have a kind of stagey feel to it, and I'm wondering if it was adapted from a stage play, like the Dracula film was adapted from a stage play. That would make a lot of sense. Now, he does look very different there, and the way he's playing it physically makes him look different too. But we haven't seen Hyde do anything evil yet. So we don't actually know what Hyde's all about. They really are making a big feature of those finger prosthetics. I mean, it's clever, but to me, changing the fingers doesn't add a lot. Flashback. Backstory. Did he steal her ring? So I find this version a little bit confusing in its treatment of the Jekyll and Hyde characters. In this setup, Hyde can do all the things that Jekyll, is afraid to do or thinks he shouldn't do. But Jekyll still knows all about it. He's fine with it. The only difference is that Hyde looks different. So the setup for this is that the medication, the drug he's made, effectively just gives him a disguise to do all the bad stuff he wants to do. I don't think it was treated this way in the book or in the other films of it that I recall. Because it seems like Jekyll knows all about the bad stuff and doesn't care. He's fine with it. So doesn't that make him just as bad as Hyde? The only purpose of the transformation is that so he doesn't get caught. Dr. Jekyll gave a hostage to his soul. So now Jekyll doesn't like the stuff that Hyde is doing. See, that is a quite creepy concept, that he creates this other identity to do all the bad stuff he wants to do so that his girlfriend doesn't find out. But it does make it seem like he was an evil person all along, not the idealistic philanthropist that they initially suggested he was. Oh, they've given him some weird crest on his head, like an orangutan or a gorilla. Okay, that head shape is quite creepy. This film also doesn't make it clear whether the Hyde persona is taking over, if he's changing involuntarily, or if he just wants to live as Hyde and do all the bad stuff. What did he do? Just knock over that... Oh! Stamping on a little kid. That's evil. Okay. Now he's evil. See, this is what they needed earlier on. The stuff he's been doing, hasn't been that bad. Womanizing, opium den. It's odd that they've taken such a dramatic and intriguing story and managed to sort of take all the drama out of it. I know this is very early in cinema history, but if it is from a stage play, I would have thought the stage play would have developed and refined the drama of the story into a shorter format that they could use. Well, here he goes. He's going. So he can't control it anymore. Oh, that was nicely done. That is the best moment of the film. That was really well done. I guess that was a bit of a crossfade between See, this is delivering on the scares now. Oh, crikey. This is what the film's needed all along. More of, oh, did he bite him? No. Oh. See, that's pretty horrible. Oh, God. Okay, now they have delivered. Bloody hell. Not finished yet. Okay, this is pretty disturbing. I just wish they'd brought in this level of horror earlier on. At first I didn't like that prosthetic pointy skull shape they've done, but it has grown on me. It does give him a kind of animalistic, ape-like, mutant appearance. It makes it look like he's got some kind of horrific cyst on his head. And I'm not clear whether he can make himself turn back or not in this version. Even this, when they're hunting for him, it just doesn't have the drama it needs. And I think it is hard to feel sorry for Jekyll in this version. Because it makes it seem like Jekyll's done all of this purely for kicks. Just for fun. This is what we've needed all along, for him to have some insight into what he's done, some realization of the horror of his actions. So they have it that nature is taking revenge against him for interfering with the natural order of things. What is that? What is that? What is that? What is that, a giant spider? What? What? What is happening? So this is Mr. Hyde in the form of a monstrous spider? That was weird. I mean, it was good, but it was weird. I had not anticipated that. I think for me the problem is that as Mr. Hyde, he does kind of pull a goofy face, which detracts from the horror. I'm still recovering from that ghost spider monster sequence. That was pretty wild. I think the problem with this is it feels like it doesn't have satisfying structure. One thing doesn't lead to another that leads to another. It just sort of wanders around a bit too much. It is a very stagey performance, and I guess we shouldn't be surprised. You know, Barrymore, I'm sure, was a great stage actor. And this was still in the infancy of movies, so we can't expect modern styles of acting and modern styles of storytelling at this point in time. But when you compare it to a film like The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, which was produced in the same year, I think the kind of storytelling and horror elements in that are much more developed than what we see here. What's he doing? Oh, he's poisoning himself with the ring he stole from Nita Naldi. Okay. Fair enough. Knew that poison ring had to come in again at some point. Oh, don't go in. Did he take the poison or not? Does she know who this is? That it's Mr. Hyde and that Mr. Hyde killed her dad? But it's not clear if she does or not. Okay, I guess he did take the poison. Got to do the transformation back scene. That was a little bit clumsily handled, I think. They could have done it better. So she still doesn't know that they were the same person. Wouldn't it have been more dramatically effective if she'd seen the transformation and realised what had happened? It's the profile again. Gotta get the profile. Well, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde was an interesting film, and I just looked it up and learned that it was adapted from a stage play of that period. I think modern viewers will probably find this a bit unsatisfying, but I guess we've got to view it as a kind of embryonic form of the horror movie. This is really early in the evolution of the American horror film. And while it has some fantastic moments and some great elements in it, they really don't come in until probably the last quarter of the film, and I think that's probably a bit too late. But in these moments we do glimpse some real horror, and there are a couple of really effective moments in it, especially the bit where he transforms in front of his fiance's dad. The special effects in that scene were so well handled, really give a glimpse of what the future of horror might be. I'm guessing, though, to audiences of 1920, this would have been a huge novelty and probably would have made a massive impression on people. John Barrymore gives a good performance, but I feel like the characters were kind of undeveloped in this movie. It is the same length as a contemporary feature film, about an hour and a half, yet they don't really develop the story in an interesting or dramatically satisfying way. I'd say have a look at this film if you're in the mood for more of a curiosity, a kind of embryonic moment in the evolution of horror films in America. And certainly all the subsequent adaptations of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde are standing on the shoulders of this film, essentially. I think one of my favourite adaptations is the Spencer Tracy Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, which has some really scary moments and very creepy ideas in it, and offers a much more developed treatment of the ideas and themes of the story. If you've enjoyed this video, I'd love it if you'd like and subscribe. And thank you so much for joining me today. I hope I'll see you next time. Bye.